to all of you that are struggling, I want to tell you a story. It's a few minutes. Bear with me, but I think it's a little less of a how-to and more about mindset and an inspiration. And I hope that you take this out with you. I sent you an email yesterday, and it was about March. And I don't know when you're watching this recording or replay or whatever, but March generally is the burnout month for almost anything that we do. New goals, new businesses, job searching. A lot of people start in the fall or in the beginning of the year, and by March, we're 8, 10, 12 weeks into this. And then there's people who want to quit. Like, I want to be a career changer, but it's too hard. Or there's people who are just stuck. It's like, I've tried everything. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what my options are. Are these my only choices? And then there's those that are just like flat out burnt out. Like, they don't know what to do. They're frozen. They're just smoked. And I sent you this message that this is very common, and I want you to hang in there. But I hope that you're seeing from these messages from these people, right? Mashid, who moved countries, didn't have a network, right? Didn't know all that stuff, had probably many more challenges than most people and most job seekers. Prasad, $65,000 raise. The raises galore this week. There's people that are winning, and I want to tell you why, and I want to give you this story. And I've never told this story out loud. So if you are listening to me right now, this is the first time I have ever told this story publicly. I have emailed it maybe to my community some time ago, but I've never actually said this out loud. And I was thinking about this as I rolled out of bed this morning, and I thought, I need to share this today. So it was November 19th, 2004. And I had been working at a company that I would call a mediocre consulting company. And we offered IT consulting services. And I started there in January 2004. And here we are about 10 months later, almost 11 months later. And my job was to create the products, the consulting services products that we would market and sell. Except that when I got to this organization, I thought I was going to be a salesperson and run some different things. But when I got in there and I started looking around the first week and I got to learn more about the company, I realized that what this company really needed was a marketing engine, that there was no way it would scale. There's no way you're going to grow with hand-to-hand combat in sales and trying to get a half a dozen salespeople to comb the earth trying to sell these consulting services, of which the message was, we're good problem solvers. This isn't going to work. So without going into all the detail, I create these products, I package them, and I run a marketing engine to basically bring us leads. We ended up selling millions of dollars of consulting services, and it was highly successful. And that's about all you need to know about this. So fast forward to November 19th, and the CEO called me into his office, and I was going in there. I had no idea what he wanted. And I'm thinking to myself, no, he doesn't call me much. I don't really deal with him all that much. I deal with the chief operating officer mostly. And he says, Andy, sit down. And I'll never forget this. And he says, we need to make some changes. Now, I don't know about you, but has any good conversation come from, we need to make some changes? It's kind of like, the boyfriend or the girlfriend's like, we need to talk. I mean, has anything good ever come in the wake of of those words? So I said, oh, okay. He said, well, we need to make some changes and we need to change your role. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, okay. And now I'm like, is it possible he's going to elevate me? Like thinking, I just crushed it. And he said, and I have two choices for you, two options. I said, okay. He says, well, we'd like you to go and either be a bag-carrying salesperson, so basically go out and sell like these other guys are doing. He said, and if you want that option, you make $100,000 more in salary than we pay our salespeople, so we would lop the 100 off, and you could earn it back in commissions. And now I'm thinking, okay, now I'm really not liking where this is going. And I'm thinking, like, what's option 2? If that's option 1, he says, well, you could go out and actually sell the consulting services and run the project because you're equipped to do that too. And then the clients would pay for you. And then we would generate money that way, and you could manage these accounts because we're kind of shorthanded. But we would also want you to take a $30,000 pay cut on your salary on that. And you know the bonus potential isn't as high. I'm stunned, right? I'm thinking, what the hell, right? Like, this makes no sense. And after I collect myself, I'm thinking, all right, well, life's not fair. I get it, but I have no idea where this is coming from. So, like, I'm literally like stunned. Like, I just got smashed in the face. And then he says to me, and I need to know by Monday. And this is Friday, November 19th. I need to know by Monday. So now the one thing that I do know about situations like this is you need to stop talking and get away from it as quickly as possible. Okay, this is not a discussion. He was not a man long on words, and this is not a discussion I wanted to be in, and it certainly is not a discussion I wanted to be in when I had no moments to process it. And I'm a fast processor. So I get up, I walk out the door, I say a few little things under my breath kind of thing, but I know I need to get the hell out of there. So I'm walking back to my office, and my cubicle that had a wall this high was as far away from his office as possible on the floor. And along the way, my best friend Tony, I actually referred him into the company. I helped him get his job there. He actually managed the consulting resources, basically the organization of where all our consulting resources were on which projects. And I knew that my commission checks were kind of light these past number of months based on the work that I had helped sell. And I went into his office and I said, V's, that is his nickname to me. And he swirls around in his chair. I said, hey, I got to ask you, I know we've got new clients where we've delayed the start of projects because we don't have consulting resources available. And we have existing clients who want additional resources that we don't have available. How much money each month are we losing basically the opportunity to get each month because we don't have butts in the seats? That's what we called it, right? It's like having a consulting resource to go out and work it. We didn't have the product to give to the customer. So he says, it's big. It's big. How big? I know it's big. Like, can you tell me down to the dot? He swirls around his chair, pulls up his spreadsheet. He looks at it and he says, I can hear him like, the numbers coming out, like the balloons coming out of his mouth. It's like $250,000. It's like, turns around. He's like 249 and change. So $250,000 a month that we are not getting because we don't have the consulting resource. So we're unable to recruit them fast enough. $250,000, like every month? He's like, last 3-4 months been like this. Okay, it's like $1 million just in the last quarter, give or take. Okay, now the motor's running, right? And what have I always told you? Your greatest opportunities can be found in the sounds of other people's complaints or pain, right? You solve their problem, you're their hero. And while the CEO probably didn't love me all that much, and I didn't really care for him, I'm sure he hated the fact that he wasn't getting that money each month. And I went back to my office. I kind of collected myself. I thought about it for a few minutes. I went home that night, shook myself a totally bruised martini, poured it, sat at my condo table, and I wrote out a list of the 23 things that I wanted in my life out of work. So I sat down, I thought about what I wanted, and this wasn't it. So I decided that I was not going to choose from his options. And I went back to his office on Monday, and I said to him, early in the morning, I tapped on the door. I said, hey, you want a quick talk? I'm happy to give you my answer. He said, oh, great, come on in. Which one of those options did you pick? I said, neither. He says, are you leaving? Right? I'm sure he was hoping that too. I said, well, not so fast. I said, do you know how much, so I didn't go right into my proposal. I said, do you know how much money we're not getting each month because we don't have the resources? He says, I don't know. I'm assuming it's significant. This is $250,000. And I let the words hang there. And his eyes started to light up. I said, a month. I want you to wrap your mind around that. So he said, well, I didn't know it was that big. I said, well, okay, which leads me to my proposal. You've got one recruiter, and she could barely keep up and rarely knows what she's doing. And even if she did, it would be very difficult to actually recruit all these people. And you got unhappy clients because their projects are being delayed. You got people you're selling to that you can't staff these projects. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a couple options. I could either quit outright, or the option I would prefer is I'm going to quit and I'm going to open up my own recruitment firm and you could be my first client. And he said, do you know anything about recruiting? I said, what do you care? What do you care? You're not going to pay me unless you actually hire somebody. So you got an extra pair of hands. You got somebody who knows the space, who knows your company better than anybody else who's ever going to recruit for you is going to know it. So it's I hate the expression, but it's a win-win. He said, okay. So by Thanksgiving, this is Monday, right? By Wednesday, before I left work, we had a contract signed. And I had a company that didn't have a name. I had a client that I didn't particularly love, but was a client. And now I had a shingle that I put out where, I don't know, 80, 90 hours before, I had no idea that was going to happen. And the point that I want you to know is, while you might not know, you might remember how you found me, and you might know why you went to the internets and looked up the problem that you were having. But this is the reason why I was even available for you to find. And the reason I wanted to share it with you is I want you to know that on that day, on November 19th, I decided that absolutely nobody in this world ever, and no one has since, was ever going to give me choices, right? I choose. I create them. Life is not multiple choice. Okay, it's not a series of multiple choice questions. You could check none of the above anytime you want. But that means you got to get up and go after it. And if you can't see what those options are, then you need to step back. And you need to keep stepping back until you can see them or you can create them. But either which way, don't think that you are limited in any fashion. I've talked to you about just because a job is posted, 20% of jobs in this world are posted. That means 80% aren't. But he gave me two choices. I didn't like them, either of them. So I gave him a choice. And he didn't have to choose that, but he did. So I want you to know, when you're feeling down, you're feeling burnt out, the options are there. You're so close in its face that you can't actually see it. You got to step back. And so I know March is burnout month. I know all that. But that's how the recruiter was born. That's what put me in motion to do this now. So I hope you take that and you go out and you get after it. Because whatever you think, however closed off you think this world is, about how no one's hiring, or about how they're discriminating against you, or I'm too old, or I'm the wrong color, or I'm the wrong this or that, that's total bullshit. All right? And you got to own that. Because there are choices out there. You need to either find different ones or create your own. Either way is okay with me, and I'm here to help you, and the tools are out there to do it. But you gotta chase it. You can't just live in the box that this world has given you. You got to create your own stuff. Okay, so I hope that helps. I hope it inspires you. It's along the lines of the message that I sent you yesterday about don't get burnt out. Step back, look at it. There are options. There are tools. There are tools that can help you. There are people that can help you. There are people that can help you think it through. So I've been on this because I sent you that message. I got a lot of emails back from the email. I got a lot of email responses back from the email I sent you yesterday about this being Job Search Burnout Month. Okay, and it kind of leading into, I mentioned a time or two that, the Job Search Bootcamp, we put it on sale for a day, and through tomorrow you can jump in if you want to join us. So maybe a little later, in the session, I'll show you the program. But I wanted to share that story with you because I want you to remember that, right? If I would have accepted his options, this would not be happening right now. All right, it wouldn't have been possible. I opened up a recruiting firm and I never recruited a day in my life. If I can do that, you certainly can get a job where you're slightly pivoting or you're heading into a new industry and taking well-qualified skills that you've built through other things. You sold this, go sell that. You've marketed for this, go market for that. You've accounted for the books for those types of companies, you can go do it for another one. Believe me, there's more options than you think. There really is. All right, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed sharing it. And that's the first time I can ever do that, a first time. But I hope it inspires you, I really do.